Nick Dwyer back for the 10th inning, here with another episode of This Day in Sports History. In yesterday's episode, we saw the Cleveland Browns go, winless. They did not win a game matching the 2008 Detroit Lions. We don't have anything quite like that today, but we have a number of New Year's Day bowl games to get into today. So if y'all enjoy this video, leave a like on it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And before I do get into this, I'm not going to be giving you every single bowl game that's happened, because if I did, you'd be here for 30 or more minutes. I'm not going to do that. I'm giving you important ones, top 10 teams meeting, important meetings, first Rose Bowl, or just close games. So now, let's get into it. This Day in Sports History. And I told you, it'd be important. We start out in 1902 at the first Rose Bowl, and Michigan would defeat Stanford 49-0. May not have been a close game, but it was the first. 7 years later, in 1909, American Robert Fowler would run a then world record marathon 2 hours, 52 minutes, 45.4 seconds in Yonkers. Moved to the 1913 Australasian Championships in tennis, and James Cecil Park would defeat Alfred Beamish 3-6, 6-3, 1-6, 6-1, 7-5, and this would be his only Grand Slam singles title. Moved in 1919 at the 5th edition of the Rose Bowl, and the U.S. Naval Academy would defeat Mare Island USMC 17-0, with George Halas of the Navy winning the MVP. Moved to 1924 at the 10th edition of the Rose Bowl, we would have a tie with Washington and Navy at 14-14. We have another tie at the Rose Bowl in 1927, Stanford would tie Alabama 7-7. 1929 at the 15th edition of the Rose Bowl, we have Georgia Tech defeating California 8-7, and Roy Regals would run 60 yards the wrong way with a fumble recovery. Moved to 1935 now, we have the first edition of the Sugar Bowl and the Orange Bowl. Starting the Sugar Bowl, Tulane would defeat Temple by a score of 20-14. Then at the Orange Bowl, Bucknell would defeat Miami of Florida 26-0. 1 year later, go to the second edition of the Sugar Bowl in 1936. We have a bit of an odd score. TCU would defeat LSU by a final score of 3-2. Now we get into our first matchup of top 10 teams meeting, 1938 Rose Bowl. Number 2 California would defeat number 4 Alabama 13-0. Moved to 1939 at the 25th edition of the Rose Bowl. Number 7 USC would defeat number 3 Duke 7-3. Then at the 1940 Rose Bowl, number 3 USC would defeat number 2 Tennessee 14-0. Over to the Sugar Bowl in 1940, number 1 Texas A&M would defeat number 5 Tulane 14-13. Then at the Orange Bowl in 1940, we had a bit of an upset as number 16 Georgia Tech would defeat number 6 Missouri 21-7. 1 year later at the 1941 Rose Bowl, number 2 Stanford would defeat number 7 Nebraska 21-13. Then at the Sugar Bowl, number 4 Boston College would defeat number 6 Tennessee 19-13. Moved to 1942 now at the Rose Bowl. We had a bit of an odd one because the game was actually played in North Carolina due to a threat, but number 12 Oregon State would upset number 2 Duke 20-16. Back to the weird scores in 1942 at the Sugar Bowl, number 6 Fordham would defeat number 7 Missouri 2-0. Take a bit of a break off of college football now, go to 1943 in the NHL. Chicago Blackhawks would field the first trio of brothers to play together in an NHL game. Max, Doug, Reggie Bentley would appear in a 6-5 victory over the New York Rangers. Get back into the bowl games in 1943 at the Sugar Bowl. Number 7 Tennessee would defeat number 4 Tulsa 14-7. Go to the 1947 Orange Bowl. Number 10 Rice would defeat number 7 Tennessee 8-0. 5 years later at the Orange Bowl, number 6 Georgia Tech would defeat number 9 Baylor 17-14. Go to 1954 at the Rose Bowl, number 3 ranked Michigan State would defeat number 5 UCLA by a score of 28-20. Finally in the 54 Orange Bowl, number 4 Oklahoma would defeat number 1 Maryland in a bit of an upset 7-0. Then at the 62 Sugar Bowl, number 1 Alabama would defeat number 9 Arkansas 10-3. Stay in 62, go to the Orange Bowl. Number 4 LSU would defeat number 7 Colorado 25-7. 1 year later at the 1963 Rose Bowl, number 1 USC would defeat number 2 Wisconsin 42-37. Stay in 63, go to the Sugar Bowl. Number 3 ranked Mississippi would defeat number 6 Arkansas 17-13. Go to 1965 at the Orange Bowl, and number 5 ranked Texas would upset number 1 Alabama by a score of 21-17. 1 year later, go to the Rose Bowl, and we have another upset as number 5 UCLA would defeat number 1 Michigan State 14-12. Go to 1966 at the Orange Bowl, number 4 ranked Alabama would defeat number 3 Nebraska 39-28. Take another break off college football, go to the AFL Championship in 1967. The Kansas City Chiefs would defeat the Buffalo Bills 31-7. Back to college football, start with the 1968 Rose Bowl. Number 1 USC would defeat number 4 Indiana 14-3. Then at the Orange Bowl in 68, number 3 Oklahoma would defeat number 2 Tennessee 26-14. Move to 1969 at the Rose Bowl, number 1 Ohio State would defeat number 2 USC 27-16. Go to 1973, this time at the Australian Open on the men's side. John Newcombe would defeat Oni Perrin 6-3, 6-7, 7-5, 6-1 to win his first Australian title. Then in 1974, at the Australian Open on the men's side, Jimmy Connors would win his only title, defeating Phil Dent 7-6, 6-4, 4-6, 6-3. 1 year later, remain at the Australian Open, and John Newcombe would win his 7th and final career Grand Slam singles title, defeating Jimmy Connors 7-5, 3-6, 6-4, 7-6. Stay in 1975, this time at the Rose Bowl, number 5 USC would defeat number 3 Ohio State 18-17. Up to the 1977 Sugar Bowl, number 1 Pittsburgh would defeat number 4 Georgia 27-3, and Tony Dorsett would run for a record 202 yards. Go to 1978 in the AFC and NFC Championship in the NFL. AFC, the Denver Broncos would defeat the Oakland Raiders 20-17. Then in the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys would defeat the Minnesota Vikings 23-16. Go to 1980 at the Australian Open on the women's side. In an All-American final, Barbara Jordan would win her first and only Grand Slam singles title, defeating Sharon Walsh 6-3, 6-3. Go to the 1980 Rose Bowl, and number 3 USC would defeat number 1 Ohio State 17-16. Then at the Sugar Bowl, number 2 Alabama would defeat number 6 Arkansas 24-9. Then in the Orange Bowl, number 5 Oklahoma would defeat number 4 Florida State 24-17. Go to the 1982 Sugar Bowl, and number 10 Pittsburgh would upset number 2 Georgia in a 24-20 victory. Then at the Orange Bowl in 1982, number 1 Clemson would defeat number 4 Nebraska 22-15. 1 year later, the 83 Sugar Bowl, number 2 Penn State would upset number 1 Georgia 27-23. Move up to 1988 at the Sugar Bowl, and number 4 Syracuse would end up tying number 6 Auburn 16-16. Then at the Fiesta Bowl in 1988, number 3 Florida State would defeat number 5 Nebraska 31-28. Finally in 88 at the Orange Bowl, number 2 Miami of Florida would defeat number 1 Oklahoma 20-14. Move to the 1990 Orange Bowl, and number 4 Notre Dame would upset number 1 ranked Colorado 21-6. 1 year later in 91 at the Orange Bowl, number 1 ranked Colorado would defeat number 5 Notre Dame by a score of 10-9. Then we have an upset at the 92 Sugar Bowl, number 18 Notre Dame would defeat number 3 Florida 39-28. Go to the 93 Sugar Bowl, and number 2 Alabama would defeat number 1 Miami 34-13. Move to 1994 at the Orange Bowl, number 1 ranked Florida State would defeat number 2 Nebraska 18-16. Now we go all the way to 2004 at the Rose Bowl, number 1 USC would defeat number 4 Michigan 28-14. Then at the Sugar Bowl in 04, number 10 Miami would defeat number 9 Florida State 16-14. Move to 2007 at the Fiesta Bowl, number 9 ranked Boise State would defeat number 7 Oklahoma in a 43-42 game ended in overtime. Up to the 2011 Rose Bowl, number 3 ranked TCU would defeat number 4 Wisconsin 21-19. Off of the bowl game for a little bit, in 2013, Phil Taylor would claim his 16th and final PDC World Darts Championship title with a 7-4 victory over Michael Van Derwen in the final. Stay with darts 1 year later, in 2014, Michael Van Derwen would win his first PDC World Darts Championship, defeating Peter Wright 7-4. Stay in 2014 at the 100th edition of the Rose Bowl, number 4 Michigan State would defeat number 5 Stanford by a score of 24-20. Also in 2014 at the Fiesta Bowl, number 15 ranked UCF would defeat number 6 Baylor 52-42. 1 year later we go to the Rose Bowl and now we get the college football playoffs. Number 2 ranked Oregon would defeat number 3 Florida State by a score of 59-20. Then in the other semifinal game in 15 at the Sugar Bowl, number 4 Ohio State would defeat number 1 Alabama 42-35. Move to 2018 at the World Darts Championship, Rob Cross would defeat Phil Taylor 7-2 in the final. 1 year later, 2019, Michael Van Gerwen would win his third PDC World Darts Championship, defeating Michael Smith 7-3. We'll end today's video off with 3 separate events in 2020. First, in darts, Peter Wright would defeat Michael Van Gerwen 7-3 to win his first PDC World Darts Championship. Then at the Rose Bowl, number 6 ranked Oregon would defeat number 8 Wisconsin by a score of 28-17. Finally at the Sugar Bowl, number 5 ranked Georgia would defeat number 7 Baylor 26-14. So that's what happened on this day in sports history. I know I left a ton of bowl games out. Again, I didn't want to make this video longer than it already is. It's already pretty long. I just gave what I felt like were important ones, close games, top ranked teams, whatever it may be. But let me know down in the comment section if I did leave one very important game out. For Nick Wire and the 10th inning.